You ever notice how the loudest person in the room never actually wins? Think about it. School, work, family gatherings, there's always that one person talking over everyone, demanding attention, making sure you know they exist. And yet, when things actually matter, when decisions get made, when respect gets earned, it's never them. It's the quiet one. The one sitting back, watching, saying almost nothing. And that terrifies people more than any threat ever could. Let me tell you why. Silence is the most dangerous weapon you'll never see coming. Most people think power looks like domination. Like being the alpha, the one who speaks first, speaks loudest, takes up the most space. That's what movies taught us. That's what social media rewards. But here's the thing that's not power. That's insecurity dressed up as confidence. Real power doesn't announce itself. It doesn't need to. And the people who understand this, the ones who've mastered the art of silence, they control rooms without saying a word. They make you nervous just by existing. You don't know what they're thinking, what they know, what they're planning. And that uncertainty, that's where their power lies. Think about the last time you met someone truly quiet. Not shy, not awkward, just quiet. Didn't you feel a little uneasy? Didn't you start talking more, trying to fill the silence, trying to figure them out? That's exactly what they wanted. While you were busy performing, revealing yourself, giving away your insecurities and your intentions, they were learning everything about you. And you didn't even realize you were being studied. Silence creates a vacuum, and human beings hate vacuums. We're wired to fill empty space with noise, with explanations, with confessions we never meant to give. Police interrogators know this. Therapists know this. Master manipulators definitely know this. When someone stays silent, when they just look at you and wait, you start to crack. You start talking just to ease the tension. And every word you say is information they can use against you later. They didn't force it out of you, you volunteered it. That's the genius of strategic silence. But here's where it gets darker. Quiet people aren't just observing. They're calculating. While everyone else is reacting, competing for attention, trying to prove themselves, the quiet ones are 3 steps ahead. They're noticing who interrupts who gets defensive about what, who's faking confidence, who's desperate for validation. They're building a map of everyone's weaknesses, everyone's triggers, everyone's predictable patterns. And when the time comes to make a move, to negotiate, to influence, to win, they already know exactly which buttons to push. They've been taking notes while you thought nothing was happening. You know what's wild? In every friend group, every workplace, every family, there's always that one person everyone underestimates. The one who doesn't fight for the spotlight, doesn't argue, doesn't compete, just exists quietly in the background. And then one day, they make one move, say one sentence, and suddenly the entire dynamic shifts. Suddenly everyone realizes they've been in control the whole time. You just didn't notice because you weren't paying attention. You assumed silence meant weakness. Big mistake. Let me give you an example. High school. There's always that kid who barely talks in class, sits in the back, doesn't participate in drama, doesn't try to be popular. Everyone forgets they're even there. But then group projects happen, or college applications, or that moment when someone needs actual help with something real. And that quiet kid, they're the one everyone suddenly wants to work with. Because while everyone else was busy performing, they were actually learning. They know things, they see things. They don't waste energy on meaningless social games because they understand something crucial. Most of what people fight about doesn't actually matter. That's the secret. Quiet people have already done the math on what's worth their energy and what isn't. Loud people react to everything because they think everything is about them. They need to defend, to prove, to win every tiny battle. But quiet people, they pick their battles with surgical precision. They let you win the small stuff. They let you think you're ahead. And then when it actually counts, when stakes are real, they move. And by the time you realize what happened, it's already over. Here's what most people don't understand about silence. It's not passive. It's not weakness. It's control. When you control your reactions, when you don't give people the satisfaction of seeing you rattled or impressed or desperate for their approval, you maintain power. You ever try to argue with someone who just won't engage, who just looks at you calmly, maybe raises an eyebrow and says nothing? It's infuriating, right? because you can't win. There's nothing to fight against. They're not giving you the reaction you wanted, and that makes them unpredictable. And unpredictable is dangerous. Think about poker. The best players don't show their hand. They don't react when they get good cards or bad cards. They stay neutral. Because the moment you react, the moment you show emotion, you've given away information. You've shown your opponent how to beat you. Life works the same way. The person who stays calm while everyone else is panicking, that person wins. The person who doesn't react when you try to provoke them, that person is in control. And you just revealed that you're not. But there's something even more unsettling about quiet people. They remember everything. Loud people talk so much they forget half of what they said. They contradict themselves. They expose their lies. But quiet people, they're listening. They're recording. They notice when you change your story. When you said one thing last week and something different today. When you betrayed someone's trust or showed your true colors when you thought no one important was watching. They file it away. And months later, years later, when it matters, they'll bring it up. And you won't even remember. But they do. They always do. This is why quiet people are dangerous in negotiation. You walk in ready to make your case, ready to argue, ready to convince. And they just sit there, listening, not agreeing, not disagreeing, just absorbing everything you say. And you keep talking, keep explaining, keep giving away your position, your limits, your desperation. And when you finally finish, when you've laid all your cards on the table, they say 3 sentences. And somehow those 3 sentences completely dismantle everything you just built. Because they weren't reacting. They were strategizing. And you gave them all the ammunition they needed. You want to know the darkest part. Quiet people weaponize your assumptions about them. You think they're shy, harmless, maybe even weak, so you underestimate them. You talk freely around them. You don't guard yourself. You don't see them as a threat, and that's exactly what they want. They've learned that people reveal more to someone they think doesn't matter than someone they're trying to impress. So they let you think they don't matter. They let you ignore them. And while you're focused on the loud people, the obvious competitors, they're moving in silence, building, planning, positioning themselves. And by the time you notice, they're already ahead of you. Look at history. The most powerful moves rarely came from the loudest voices. Caesar got stabbed by quiet senators, not his obvious enemies. Brutus wasn't the guy yelling threats in the forum. He was the one everyone trusted, the one who said very little, the one who struck when nobody expected it. Real danger doesn't wear a mask and announce itself. It sits patiently, watches carefully, and waits for the perfect moment. Even in modern life, think about the people who actually run things. The CEO who barely do interviews. The investors who stay out of headlines. The strategists you've never heard of who influence policy without public credit. Power loves shadows. Attention is a liability when you're actually trying to accomplish something real. Loud people attract scrutiny, attract enemies, attract resistance. Quiet people move under the radar until it's too late to stop them. Here's what you need to understand. Silence isn't about being introverted or antisocial. It's about discipline. It's about choosing when to speak and when to observe. It's about understanding that every time you talk, you're giving something away. Your position, your emotions, your intention. And in a world where information is power, the person who gives away the least holds the most cards. Quiet people aren't scared to speak. They've just calculated that listening gives them a better advantage. And they're right. You can test this yourself. It's time you're in a group conversation. Try saying nothing. Just listen. Watch what happens. People will try to pull you in. They'll ask what you think. They'll get uncomfortable with your silence. And when you finally do speak, everyone listens. Because you made them wait. You created value through scarcity. Meanwhile, the person who's been talking the whole time, half the room tuned them out 10 minutes ago. That's the difference. Quiet people understand attention economics. They don't flood the market. They make every word count. But there's a line, and this is important. There's a difference between strategic silence and hiding, between being observant and being avoidant. Quiet people who are truly dangerous aren't running from confrontation. They're choosing their moments. They're not silent because they're afraid. They're silent because they're confident enough not to need constant validation. They know their worth doesn't come from how much noise they make, it comes from what they can do when it matters. Weak people are quiet because they're intimidated. Strong people are quiet because they're secure. And that's how you tell the difference. Watch how someone handles pressure. The dangerous quiet person stays calm, doesn't flinch, doesn't scramble to defend themselves or prove anything. They're comfortable in silence because they're comfortable in their own power. They don't need your approval. They don't need to win your argument. They're playing a different game entirely, and that's what makes them untouchable. Think about someone who's genuinely unbothered, who doesn't react when you try to get under their skin, who doesn't defend themselves against rumors or attacks, who just keeps moving, keeps working, keeps winning without explanation. Don't you kind of respect that? Don't you kind of fear that? Because you can't control them. You can't manipulate someone who doesn't need anything from you, and people hate what they can't control. This is why quiet people make terrible enemies and invaluable allies. As enemies, they're patient. They don't retaliate immediately, they wait. They let you forget, let you get comfortable, and then when you're not looking, when you've moved on, they strike. And it's precise, it's personal, it's devastating. Because they've been planning it for months. As allies, they're loyal to a fault, because they don't make bonds easily. They don't trust quickly. But when they do, when you've earned your place in their inner circle, they'll protect you with the same intensity they'd destroy an enemy. They're selective, and that selectivity makes their loyalty priceless. Here's the uncomfortable truth most people don't want to hear. We live in a world that rewards performance, that rewards being loud, being visible, being constantly engaged. Social media trained us to believe that if you're not posting, you're not relevant, that if you're not constantly sharing your thoughts, you don't matter. But that's a trap. The more you broadcast, the more you expose. The more you expose, the more vulnerable you become. And the people who understand this, the ones who stay quiet while everyone else is performing, they're the ones actually accumulating real power. Because while you're busy managing your image, they're managing reality. You don't have to be the center of attention to be the most important person in the room. You don't have to speak the most to be the most intelligent. You don't have to prove yourself to everyone to be worthy. That's ego. And ego is a weakness quiet people exploit ruthlessly. They let your ego run wild. They let you brag, let you overextend, let you make yourself the target. And while everyone's focused on you, attacking you or celebrating you or judging you, they're moving in the background, unnoticed, unbothered, unstoppable. So what do you do with this information? First, stop equating silence with weakness. Start respecting the quiet people in your life. They're not ignoring you, they're reading you. Second, practice strategic silence yourself. You don't need to have an opinion on everything. You don't need to defend yourself against every criticism. Sometimes the strongest response is no response at all. Let people wonder. Let them guess. Let them underestimate you. Third, observe more than you speak. You'll learn more in 1 hour of listening than 1 month of talking. Watch patterns, notice contradictions, understand motivations. That's intelligence gathering, that's power. And here's the final piece. The quietest person in the room is dangerous because they've learned something most people refuse to accept. You don't need external validation to know your worth. You don't need to prove yourself to people who wouldn't understand anyway. You don't need to win every argument, every competition, every moment. You just need to win the ones that matter. And you can't do that if you're exhausted from fighting battles that don't. Quiet people conserve their energy. They save it for moments that actually count. And when those moments come, they have everything they need while everyone else is already burned out from pointless conflicts. The most dangerous person you'll ever meet won't threaten you, won't yell, won't make a scene. They'll just look at you. And somehow in that look, you'll know they see through every performance you're putting on. They see your fear pretending to be confidence, your desperation pretending to be ambition, your weakness pretending to be strength. And they won't call you out. They won't expose you, they'll just file it away. And when the time comes, when it serves their purpose, they'll use it, and you'll never see it coming until it's already happened. So the next time you're in a room and you notice the person who's barely said anything, pay attention. They're not invisible, They're not unimportant, they're not weak, they're watching, they're learning, they're waiting, and whether you realize it or not, they probably already know more about you than you know about yourself, because while you were performing they were studying, and that's why they're the most dangerous person there. Try this tonight. Go into your next conversation and say half as much as you normally would. Watch what happens. Watch what people reveal when you give them space. Watch how much power you gain just by withholding. It's uncomfortable at first. Our instinct is to fill silence, to prove we're smart, we're funny, we're worthy of being there. But fight that instinct. Let the silence work for you instead of against you. You'll be surprised what you learn. You'll be surprised how much control you gain. And maybe, just maybe, you'll start to understand why the quietest person in the room has always been the most dangerous, because they understood this long before you did, and they've been using it against you the entire time.